I want to welcome everybody to the joint Veterans Endorsements for Veterans and Politics International, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus, Nevada Veterans Association, and Armed Forces Chamber PAC. I also want to thank our sponsors, Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate, Ava Bravo, Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Department 2 candidate, and Carl Cantara, Clark County School Board trustee. I also want to thank our panel members for coming this afternoon, and special thanks also to the candidates. Running for political office is something that is very tough. Once you file for political office, your life is public domain and will never be the same. And I'm a poet and I didn't even know it, but literally it won't be. So I just want to go through some of the rules for our endorsement interview. The panel members, each of us will just give our name and the organization that we represent. Then each candidate will be given 30 seconds to introduce yourself and why you're running and why you're seeking this endorsement. Just candidates, do me a favor. Please remember, this is an interview. It's not a debate. So you guys can't debate each other. Go back and forth. If a panel member asks you a question, you direct your answers to that panel member. And please do that. When, in the end, you'll be given 1 minute for a closing statement. In that closing statement, you can cover some of the stuff that maybe you thought you missed or whatever, and I'll adjust times. When you're asked a question, you'll be given 45 seconds in order to answer that question. At 15 seconds, you'll be given a nod from me that says, okay, wrap it up. I'm not going to be rude, cut you off, but you can't start another sentence, okay, to be fair to the other candidate. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. I'm James Jonas, Director of Veterans and Politics, and I'll turn it over to my colleague.
My name is Kenneth Wigner. I'm a retired Army veteran and a disabled combat veteran. My son is also a disabled combat veteran.
I'm Rocco Lacey, retired Marine Corps veteran, also senior officer for the Armed Forces Chamber of Commerce and the National Montford Point Marines Association.
Mikey Kelly, welcome. Mikey Kelly, Chair of the Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus and retired Army veteran. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and start with you, Valerie. Ladies first. Just introduce yourself, please.
So hello to everybody. My name is Val Thomason. I am running in the Democratic primary in Assembly District 10. I am a single mother, as you could see, a longtime community organizer, and a member of the Teamsters. And the main reason that I am running is that I'm deeply concerned with the economic realities that we're facing in Nevada. Right now, we had the fastest rising rent in the country in the last 5 years. We had the slowest wage growth in the country in the last few years. We have the most expensive childcare in the country, over $1,500 a month it was costing me. And our wages are not going up to keep up with it. We were also tied for the second highest inflation in the country. So the main reason that I am running is to take care of working people and to stop spending our public money on billionaires and stipends for corporations.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey?
My name is Jeffrey Lustick, and I'm running because I believe that occasionally one person can make a difference. I have had a career that has been focused on public service. I have served in the United States Air Force for 12 years, active duty for 4, National Guard for 4, Reserve for 4. I was a Judge Advocate General, a staff officer, military prosecutor, military defense counsel. Veterans were a large part of my career, so were active duty families. I'm concerned about how veterans are treated in this state, and there's a lot of gaps that veterans are falling through, not only in healthcare and housing, but in mental health. Veterans are among us every day. They don't wear uniforms, but they are hard hit, and when they're hard hit, it hurts all of us. I'm also concerned about things like education and public safety. And I want to work with colleagues, regardless of their party affiliation, when I get to Carson City, to benefit the people in the 11th District. We have in the 11th District a very diverse and dynamic population, and when I speak to the people in the district, they want help, they want relief, and they look for leadership. And I am going to be the person that leads and works with people in Carson City with an eye towards veterans as well.
Okay, thank you to both the candidates for introducing themselves. So I'll start with the first question, and Valerie, I guess this one I'll start with you, and then we'll move to Jeffrey. Speaking to specifically to your, I'm just going to be blunt. I actually have a real issue with your opening statement, because explain to me how rich people are the problem and they need to pay more for people, in my opinion, that aren't willing to work hard enough to become rich people.
Well, actually, that wasn't really included in my opening statement, because most of the things that I was discussing don't take tax money. For example, when we're talking about the highest rising rents in the country, the fastest rising rents, no tax money would be involved in something like rent stabilization. That would just limit the amount that your landlord could raise the rent each year to the cost of living. So they can still raise the rent, they can still keep their profits the same, it will keep up with the cost of living, but they can't just say your rent is now double what it was last year. And then wages, another thing I'm concerned with. We're actually seeing record-breaking profits in this state and in this country. So we do have enough to raise people's wages without doing anything with our tax money.
Okay, thank you.
You get to respond to that question.
I believe in the American dream, and the American dream is that we have the ability in this country to make something of ourselves. And we seek out individual opportunities, and we work through the system by getting an education, by working in jobs, by being in a society that follows law and order. And if we do this, we become citizens in a bigger system that makes everybody benefit. I am not in favor of taxing people because they're successful. What I am in favor of is rewarding people who work hard, and then allowing those people who have earned those benefits, whether they be a benefit from working at a police department for 20 years, whether they be a health benefit, to allow those people to keep those benefits. And I work to make taxes fair across the board. And I would not single out one section just because they happen to have been more successful than someone else. I think that's socialism, and that does not work.
This is a motor voter, and as I was so properly reminded, just because you speak Spanish doesn't make you illegal in this country, and I was properly reminded that there are actually U.S. citizens that are non-English speaking from other countries. So this is motor voter, which means you can come to this country and are allowed to register to vote, which is what I'm about to talk about. I was in DMV. A friend of mine was a PO. Sorry, I had a stroke, so sometimes it takes a few minutes to get my thoughts right. That's why I said this wrong. A friend of mine was a POW. He had lost his ID, and we were trying to get him his ID back, which we got him. We were in the DMV. The person that I also brought, my gardener, who is here on a green card, was getting his ID, which is absolutely legal. There was also people in there, and the person was from Venezuela, who was also getting a ID card and also was getting registered to vote. And that's what my gardener had told me. Now I have the story correct, which I had failed to say properly in the first time. Who was registered to vote? I am also going to get it, what I just said, again, I apologize. I need to go take my seizure medicine, so I'm going to be leaving here shortly and get my medicine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to state this as a fact and have it notarized and take it to the governor and a few other people, so that under penalty of perjury, what I'm about to say, what I've just said is true. And I'm having my gardener say it, and of course my friend that's a POW. I don't think that people just coming into this country should be able to vote. I just want to know what both of you are willing to do about people that are just coming to this country. I don't mind once you come to this country and become a U.S. citizen to vote. I think everyone has the right to vote, whether you agree with my opinions or anybody's opinions. I think every American has the right to vote and should vote because that's what makes this country a great country. I want to know what both of your opinions are on that and what you'll do to prevent non-U.S. citizens to vote. Thank you.
Ken, I think that's a great question. I'm really glad that you're concerned about that, because in our state here in Nevada, like in many states, there's people that are so frustrated with the lack of transparency and reliability in what they perceive in our voting system that they're discouraged to vote, and that shouldn't be that way. If we ever have anyone that questions our voting system, it's up to the people like the Secretary of State, the governor, and the legislature, which I would be joining if I was elected, to help people have confidence in the system. And when you have a system like we do here, and I look through the voter rolls, and I see literally 5 entries at a house where one person lives, and I know that 5 ballots are going to that house. It makes me discouraged, and I don't want to be discouraged. I am supporting the initiative campaign for signatures and the petition to the legislature to institute ID. You can't get a library card without ID. You can't claim your Amazon package without ID, but you can go in and vote for president or secretary or senator or legislator without ID. And I think that erodes the faith that we deserve. That's what we fought for. That's what us veterans fought for democracy. And I would completely support changing this law.
In no way to be rude, but it is already illegal for undocumented people to vote. And as you mentioned, there is already a process if you know that somebody who is undocumented did vote illegally. And it is also, in other cases, illegal to vote from an address that is not yours. Yet when I'm out canvassing, a lot of the times the person that is listed as the registered voter is actually the landlord of the property, and they do not live at the property. But people are way less concerned about that type of voter fraud than they are about people from different countries. And I think that there is a reason for that.
I don't understand what you just said. Maybe I misunderstood what you said. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what you said. This guy was not a U.S. citizen and was registered to vote. You're more than welcome to go to the DMV and ask people that were there, because people at DMV will tell you they register non-U.S. citizens all the time, and they're told to do nothing. And it's the DMV right on Decatur, because they also told me the exact same thing. On Decatur, the DMV, you're more than welcome to go. And if you're interested, you're more than welcome to go there and ask people that work at that DMV.
Okay, well, thank you.
I just told you, you're more than welcome to go with me.
Yeah.
If you're interested, instead of doubting
Right.
what I just said, I'm not known as a liar.
Oh, no one's ever gonna call.
I'm not known as a liar.
No, well, why are you questioning me right now?
Well, you just scoffed at what I said.
I didn't scoff. I gave you the microphone. I didn't scoff at you.
I don't mean that you're lying. I don't mean that. I just mean that I think it's a more minor problem instead of minor.
Okay, so first thing I want to say, this is the one thing I really enjoy about the process and the way we do stuff here at Veterans of Politics, is because this is real. we're on live feed right now. I mean, these are the real conversations that American people need to start having right now. Like, quit hiding sleeping in your bedrooms and all that stuff. Put it out there. Like, you did 100%, Ken. That's why I still love you, even though I didn't like what you just said about me. But that's fine. Fair enough. Anyway, all right, moving on. Mikey, you got another question, or you want me to ask the next question?
We haven't asked any questions yet.
Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Let's see here. That's interesting, what you were just talking about. Let's say both of you were just elected, and you found out that there's a huge, huge budget in reference to building the public infrastructure in your district. What would you do, or what would you do to see if it was worth implementing? Did you get it? Whoever wants to go first.
If we had a budget for my district, 100% it would go towards an affordable housing building. Like I said, the rent has risen faster here than anywhere else, but my district especially, the average income is about $30,000 a year, which is well below what it takes to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in Nevada in 2024. There are not, I believe we're actually 80,000 units short on affordable housing. And in my district, there are, I want to say 30 different apartment buildings. So we're dealing with a lot of renters. 1 in 4 households are a single parent, and what they need more than anything else is housing.
I agree that housing is really important in the 11th district, but we also have issues that can be implemented with housing in other budget areas. One of the things that always gets overlooked in our district is the streets and the safety on our streets. We have a chronic shortage of lighting. We have an over-existence of construction sites that start and stop and don't get finished. Businesses aren't having accessibility that they need to survive. People are not able to work in their jobs, and they have to close down businesses because they just lose the frontage and there's nowhere to park. Housing is definitely important, but in this situation, if we don't have roads to get people to their jobs and to get people into those businesses, then we won't have anyone living in our district. So I think as a precursor, we need to do a better job with our roads and making our streets safer at night, and also getting those projects under control so that they make sense and come in on budget.
And good evening. This is kind of a long-winded question, but it has to do more with government accountability. And you being an Air Force JAG, it kind of falls in something that it falls into your wheelhouse. So several years ago, in 2020, a study was conducted by RAND and ultimately conducted by the Air Force that said that, and it was actually followed up by a report yesterday that was leaked that said an airman in the United States Air Force, and the reason I ask this is because if you're in the legislature, we also have an Air National Guard component that you're going to be accountable for. And so within the Air Force, a black airman there was an 86% greater chance that airman would receive non-judicial punishment than their white counterpart. And non-judicial punishment is demotion, you get fines, loss of pay, restriction, extra duty. So what they found, and during their initial report, what they found was there was a 52% chance that a black airman would face court-martial as opposed to their white counterpart. 1.64% more likely to face an investigation, a felony investigation, or investigation by Office of Special Investigations. Twice as likely to receive a punitive discharge, and twice as likely to be arrested or apprehended by security forces. Just recently, the Nevada Department of Veterans Services, which oversees veterans issues in Nevada, they are responsible for the 2 veterans' homes in Sparks and in Boulder, the cemeteries, as well as claims personnel. They had an issue where there was accusations of there was clear discrimination and racial discrimination as well as gender discrimination. Employees complained. They wrote letters to the governor. They wrote emails to the governor. Governor not only ignored them, did absolutely nothing to them. The members of the legislature initially didn't do anything. Finally, one legislator finally had a talk with the governor, and eventually employees went to the media, and now they terminated the former director of Veteran Services, and now they're under state police investigation. So my point is, as a veteran, when we're leaving particularly veterans of color, when we leave active duty, life ain't so great. And life certainly wasn't great for those women and men that were working within the Nevada Department of Veteran Services. You're seeking election to be accountable. I don't want to hear about racism's a bad thing or it's a terrible thing, but I want to know, what are you going to do to fix problems like this? Those veterans who work for NDVS were affected adversely. There are airmen who are affected adversely. Their lives are destroyed because of this. What are you going to do as elected legislators to hold the government accountable, the executive branch accountable, to make sure they're treating veterans, and particularly veterans of color, respectfully?
I'm really glad you asked that question, and I wish I had a lot more time to get into it, because when you talk about discrimination that goes on in the military, you talk about veterans who come out the back door with less than honorable discharges. Many don't have full VA benefits that they need, and I have done that work. I have submitted cases to the BCMR to get people's discharge statuses upgrade, to get them the VA loans, and to get them access to the GI Bills and get them into the VA, because you lose that when you get a punitive discharge or when you're court-martialed. To answer the other part of your question, we have a very good Adjutant General, General Barry, and I would move the Department of Veterans Affairs oversight of the 2 veteran homes that we have, and they're both under investigation. One's privatized, one is not. I would move that into the military department, and I would create full-time equivalents. I would create new people in the Guard who would be there to supervise and run these homes. We would not have a privatized home in I think the one in Sparks is privatized, the one in Boulder City is not. And if I could put it under the military department, I get the Adjutant General. He's not going to let that happen. The governor's not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. I needed more time. I'm sorry.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of the opposite here. I don't have any military experience, so I don't know the intricacies of the military. But I would want to see these things investigated, and I would go to the people who are experiencing this to find out what they would want me to do to put a stop to it.
Okay, fair enough. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and give both candidates, I'm going to expand it a little bit. So each one of you 2 minutes. I know this is short and brief, but I do really want to thank both of you for coming in. So if I can, ladies first, 2 minutes. Please make sure you give your point of contact, how people can get involved in your campaign, etc. Whatever you want to say for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Let me just say thank you for inviting me here. I know we don't have all the same opinions, but it's still great to be in the space. And I am really fighting for working people in Nevada, which I believe also includes veterans, especially people who have left the military and were making, like my sister, for example, actually was a Marine, was making $20,000 a year and is now working for minimum wage in a casino. I think we need to uplift these people as much as everybody else. And if you believe the same as me, it is valfornevada.com. Thank you.
I want to thank the panelists for being here. This is not easy work yourself. You've put a lot on the line to be here, and you've taken time out of your schedules, and I really want to thank you for giving us a voice. You know, when you ask a veteran how they're doing, you know what they say? They say, I'm good. And why do veterans say they're good? Because veterans walk around and they don't complain. They need help, and they're not going to be wanting to burden the system, and they're not going to want to be burdening their families, and they just go on. We carry on. That's what we do. We're victims of our training. As a veteran myself, as a former prosecutor, as an active attorney, licensed in 2 different states, as someone who was a judge, as someone who has serviced pro bono and low bono the people in the veterans community, who has provided free services to veterans' families, who served on honor guards and buried our veterans, our war dead, I tell you that I will be there for the veterans. I understand how veterans think. I know what veterans need. Our veterans need mental health care access. They need access to being not taken advantage of. We have people that run around and they say, we'll help you get your veterans benefits, and they take a commission, they take a portion of those veterans benefits. I think that should be illegal. We have veteran service officers. We can have veteran service officers in the National Guard. We can do so much with the National Guard. We can have the National Guard under the status of state status, do anything we need and anything we want for veterans. When I go to the legislature, I will seek out other veterans to create a veterans caucus, and we will work together and we will focus and spearhead on veterans issues. If you want to reach my campaign, we're on Facebook, and we also have a webpage, NVassembly.com. Thank you for your support.
Okay, thank you both very much. That will conclude our endorsement interview for Nevada State Assembly District 11. Thank you, guys.